Hi, I'm Jeff Galloway, and you are listening to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We feature destination races from across the country. And after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back of the packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Hey, welcome to episode 107 of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
We hope this episode finds you well and safe.
Absolutely. It's going to be an awesome show today. We have a lot to really look forward to and kind of get excited about on today's show.
We certainly do. I'm so excited. It's hard to put into words every time this man grants us the pleasure of an interview.
Amy doesn't get like this with just anybody, and this week we are going to be talking with 1972 Olympian and America's coach, Jeff Galloway.
And you know what? Carissa, who is his daughter-in-law, she posted an article all about the Olympic trials and Jeff and the story of him actually going to the Olympics in the 10,000 and how he helped and coached and mentored a fellow runner during the marathon. And if you look at the times, he finished fourth with the exact same time as the one he coached to take the third spot on the marathon Olympic team.
Wow.
It was, that man always wants to help people be better.
And we've been fortunate enough to be e-coaching clients of Jeff's for the better part of the last decade. And we've had the honor and the pleasure of getting to know him on a personal level and become friends. And he's just a tremendous source of inspiration for us. And since this is a training week, and since everything that's going on in the world is impacting the running community in pretty substantial ways, from race cancellations and postponements to, in some places, actual prohibitions against running more than a certain prescribed distance from your home.
Right.
There's a lot to consider, and there's also a lot to just, be thankful for and focus on that is positive. And if ever there's a person who can help us find the positive, it's Jeff.
It's Jeff, yes. And along with that, us having a training week, I'm also excited to follow up his interview with a little peek inside of our kitchen tonight.
This week, we are not taking you out to some cool food truck or fancy place for dinner. Yep. We are actually giving you a look at some of the food that fuels us on our running journey. And that food is courtesy of recipes that we have picked up from a book that's kind of become, if not the centerpiece, one of the centerpieces of our healthful lifestyle. Yes,
which is the Healthspan Solution, and that's Ray Cronise and Julieanna Hever.
Yeah, and we had the pleasure of talking with them a couple of weeks ago, and that interview, we've been teasing it, and it's coming soon, but we are going to give you a little sneak peek at some of the food from that book.
And then I'm very excited to revisit virtually Big Storm Coffee.
Yes.
The creamery and the roastery are in the Tampa Clearwater area.
Yeah, we can't head up there tonight as we're recording. But we can enjoy some of it from the comfort of our own home,
which we certainly do.
So we're going to give you a review on one of their whole bean coffees that is available for purchase, as well as some gear for properly preparing, transporting, and enjoying said beverage. So without further ado, I don't want to keep people waiting because we were lucky enough to get him. But we are going to kick things off in our running segment with our interview with America's coach, Jeff Galloway.
Well, as we move into the running segment of our show here today on the Run, Eat, Drink podcast, we are so lucky to be joined by a friend of our show, a 1972 Olympian, America's coach, and the pioneer of the run, walk, run method, author of such books as Marathon You Can Do It, and Running Until You're 100. You know, we talk about him almost every week on the show. So we are so excited to welcome Jeff Galloway to the running portion of our show. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, Amy and Dana. And let me just tell you, y'all are doing a great job here. I'm just here to help. So let me know some of the concerns. And I do want to say at the front end that anybody that does have questions, don't hesitate to ask me, whether it be this current situation or any problems you're having with your walking or your running. It is a simple email address. It's jfg@jeffgalloway.com.
And we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
Good.
So that people can communicate with you. I imagine that people in your training programs and your e-coaching clients like me and like Dana have had some questions and concerns about their training going forward. Do you have a lot of people reaching out to you?
Yes, and actually a lot of my e-coach clients are reporting in what's going on various places around the country, a few around the world. And we're all going through this together. There's a feeling of togetherness, of really wanting to get through it and supporting one another. So that's the good side of it. The other good thing is that the medical authorities have endorsed walking and even running as very valuable activities during this time period. So the big concern that people have is they don't want to go out very far. So what can they do around their house? Well, I've actually done a lot of this winter, running in the house and on our patio deck. Just little circles, very small circles, meaning that I would walk for most of it and put in short segments of jogging that invigorate the brain, make you feel better. And it's really amazing how many steps you can get. And doing the step count has been a wonderful motivational tool to help people focus on getting out more often. Another valuable tool is our timer, our Galloway timer, because you can set that to go off whenever you want to. A lot of my clients, being cooped up, are setting it every 20 to 30 minutes. And when it beeps, they get up and walk up and down the hall for 5 minutes or so. And doing this regularly throughout the day is not only healthy, it just simply makes you feel better and turns on your mind. So there are just a lot of benefits from regular stepping it out.
Now, Jeff, that almost sounds to me like you're saying that you could almost work on cadence indoors.
Yes, you can. Obviously, you have to look at where you can run. And, some homes are not inside are not as conducive to that.
Sure.
But it's generally safe on lawns if you watch, the surface and so forth. And generally, sidewalks are safe too. So you can use short segments for what I'm talking about here, and you don't have to go very far from home.
That's true. I mean, if you have stairs in your house, you can utilize those. You can utilize your back porch, your fenced-in yard, like you said. You can get steps in if you're having to take the dog out and keep them close to the house. So there are a lot of things you can do while we're trying to adhere to these guidelines.
Yes. Yes, there's a lot of leeway, and as always, be safe. And as is the case with any of these situations, just be aware of what is being put out by governmental authorities and medical authorities.
And I also think you got to sift through separate the wheat from the chaff. Ignore a lot of the stuff you see floating around online as far as, what Aunt Sally posts on Facebook, and go right to the source.
Right.
Absolutely. There's some really good people. My media person that I respect is Sanjay Gupta. I hadn't found anybody that's as right on target as he with the latest research and so forth. And anyway, there are just a lot of good people out there, but Aunt Sally might not be the one to listen to.
Yeah. And as we go forward, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are in the same boat as, say, me and Dana, and you've probably had a lot of your e-coaching clients or people that reach out to you by your email or on Facebook, because we've recently had the cancellation of the Star Wars Rival Run weekend.
Yes.
And people have been spending, maybe weeks, months building up their training. And now we're at this point. What advice have you given people who have reached out to you that are in that position?
Well, there are, of course, a lot of different issues. Most of the events that I'm aware of any size whatsoever, have been either canceled or postponed. And so there's really a lack of events for people to focus on. That's been one of the great things. And of course, the Disney events they spoil you so much that the loss of something like Star Wars has been a real deficit in people's motivational cycle of running schedule. But the virtuals can step in here. We have our 13.1 and my wife Barb's 5K medals that you can win for building up to a training run, and then you make it a bigger deal than a normal training run would be.
Exactly.
So it has motivated a lot of people. Our challenge that we have, the 2020 challenge, to work towards that many kilometers or miles, or do it as a team, has been embraced by a lot of people during this particular period of race shutdowns, because it gives them something to focus on and to tally, and then to see where they are. So it really has been a good thing for motivational issues. Now, my suggestion is, as soon as one door closes, such as a race that you wanted to go to has been canceled, there are a lot of other doors that would be open. And you just have to talk with your fellow runners by email or Facebook or whatever. Where are you going to go? What are you thinking about later in the year? The races that I am focusing on are the Alaska Runfest in Anchorage.
One of our favorites.
Runfest in August.
Oh, we loved that last year.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Cannot recommend that one enough. I'm not a big fan of the flight to get there, but the race itself is amazing.
Well, it really is. It really is. And then the Des Moines marathon and half marathon and other events in October are a really good one. And here's another one that I'm not even sure I mentioned to you when we talked earlier this year, but the Cannonball in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was up there last year. I'm going back to it this year.
Ooh.
It is a fun event, and they really do a great job up there, Junction 311. So anyway, those are some that I just off the cuff will tell you about. I know they're really well run and fun events. But
those are all fall ones, right? Those are all fall ones.
They are.
Okay.
They are. Yeah, Anchorage is in August,
Right.
towards the, I guess, third week in August.
And then the others you mentioned,
The other two are in October.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Another thing that Barb just mentioned is since there's this downtime, and a lot of people who tend to race too much often don't have time to do speed work. Well, this downtime would allow people to set up a schedule for speed work. You can find those schedules in any of my books that work on training for certain distances, like the 5K, 10K book, the half marathon book, the year-round plan book. And, of course, those that are really looking at high achievement goals, the Boston How to Qualify book.
Yeah. And all of this we can find, we know, on jeffgalloway.com. So your virtual race and those books and training plans and even your Magic Mile calculator and the training programs that that Chris Twiggs kind of directs.
Yes. Customized training. That's a very economical way to get training advice, and it really does. It's been very popular.
And it can be a virtual race, or it can be just improving your running for whatever may happen in the future as we look to those fall races.
Absolutely. The main principle here is what I discovered when I wrote my mental training book, and that is you can choose which brain operating system you're going to use whenever throughout the day. You can either use your conscious brain, which is your human brain, or you can use your ancient emotional brain, which is sometimes called monkey brain. By having a schedule and by interacting with that schedule regularly, you're going to tend to activate the human brain, which overrides the emotional brain, so that you don't get those roller coaster feelings of feeling good at the beginning of a run and not good in the middle, or whatever it is that you're going through emotionally with all the other things going on in life. And by focusing on things, you're going to activate that human brain and stay in control.
It's so important. And I think that is great advice in the running and the run, walk, run training, but also in the current situation that we're in. You have to take control and use those positive mantras to push forward, especially when we have these obstacles that we can't control.
Absolutely correct.
Well, I was going to say, with everything that's going on right now, and you touched on it a little bit, I'm going to kind of get you to go back to something you just said a minute ago. You're talking about runners neglecting speed work.
Yes.
Generally, or oftentimes. And this is an opportunity for them to actually slow down. That sounds funny, slow down. But refocus their training a little bit, I suppose, would be a better way to put it, and work on some of the technique and work on that speed work. Can you talk a little bit more about how they can use this as an opportunity to improve their performance in races once things start to normalize?
Just this week, I have interacted via email with 3 of my eCoach clients who said they wanted to change the schedule. All 3 of them were folks that had a tendency to schedule too many races, so that they didn't have time to put in speed work because they were racing all the time. But now that the races have been called off or postponed, there's this opportunity to include strategic speed work. Now, like any other element of running, speed training needs to be regularly spaced so that you would be doing these workouts in a strategic manner every week if it's a 5K or 10K, or every 2 weeks if it's a half marathon. And in the marathon, it even goes up to every 3 weeks. So you don't have to do these that often, but they have to be done according to whatever the schedule is in order to maintain the adaptations that you have been doing. The second principle is to have a realistic goal, and that will set up what speed you'd need to run on the speed repetitions. The Magic Mile can help you there. So go to our Magic Mile calculator on the my website, jeffgalloway.com, and you'll find how to calculate that. And then you could make a leap of faith goal that would be up to 30 seconds per mile faster than what the Magic Mile predicts as your ultimate performance. All that is listed in the on the website there under Magic Mile. And then you set up your workouts that start with only a few repetitions, no more than 4 on the first workout. You would be walking for 3 minutes in between each repetition, except for the mile repetitions, and you'd be walking 5 minutes between those. And you would run each repetition 30 seconds per mile pace faster than you want to run in the race itself. On each additional workout, every other week or every third weekend in most cases, you would be adding 2 additional repetitions. So you'd start with 4 of them, and 2 weeks later, you'd be doing 6, and 2 weeks after that, 8. If you were training for a 5K or a 10K, which a number of people that I'm coaching have decided to do since they don't have races, then the 5K and 10K speed work is composed of 400-meter or quarter-mile repetitions. And hopefully in your area, the recreation departments keep the track open. Some areas they don't in this shutdown period, unfortunately. But you can measure via GPS a quarter-mile segment on a sidewalk or road and just run repetitions that way. Another thing that several of my e-coach clients are doing is dropping down to 200-meter or 220-yard repetitions, an eighth of a mile.
That's
and
me.
That enables the speed and the cadence to pick up at the same time. So these are all options that you can choose, and the structure of the workout then is going to be based on which one you choose.
And I love the point that you make that it can't, it's not like you're cramming for a big test when you do this kind of training and this kind of speed work. You can't do it all at once and rush it. It has to be spread out over time for you to see the effect on race day or on your virtual race or at the end of your training program.
Absolutely, and you also need to remember that recovery period is as important as the hard workouts. So if you're going into a workout tired, then it's going to take longer to recover. And the same is true as if you, after the hard workout, you start running too hard too soon. You won't allow the body to rebuild.
And that is just as important. Rest and recovery is just as important to the end goal. I love that.
Yes.
Something that I've learned over the last couple of years is that the sleep component, the downtime is just as crucial as what you're doing.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, I'm sure that things have changed for you in terms of your schedule and your running schools and training programs. We want to ask, because you are such a friend of the podcast and you have helped and supported us and so many others in running goals and in run, walk, run goals so much. And we're so grateful. Jeff, we want to wish you and Barb and Brendan and Weston and Carissa and everybody in your family well, to stay safe and healthy. And we wish you the best in all of your endeavors for running schools online. And we'll be looking out on jeffgalloway.com and we'll post your email for those questions that some of our listeners might have.
And get ready for a full inbox.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your support greatly. And as you know, I salute all of the listeners out there, and I'm there for you. I'm here to help you. So do not hesitate. You can either ask the question through jeffgalloway.com, where there's a free email service there, or you can go to email address of jfg@jeffgalloway.com.
Jeff Galloway, America's coach, our e-coach, a friend of the podcast. Thank you so much for spending time to talk with us today.
Glad to, and we will get through this. Keep running.
He's such a great interview. Anytime he is on the show or we happen to run into him at a Run Disney Expo, he's full of information, tips, anything that's going to help us. He is such a great listener, such a great motivator.
And no matter what the running trend is, what the new hotness is, it's so great talking with him because he has that perspective of being at the forefront of the running community for the better part of 40 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So
yeah.
He's kind of been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
And he lets all of us benefit from the wisdom of his experience. So when he gave that email out, not once, but twice during the interview, I take him up on that because it doesn't matter where your experience is in your journey with running or if you're training couch to 5K, to marathon, to ultra, whatever. He is so patient, so kind, and so generous with his time.
Yeah, and not even and this isn't an ad for his e-coaching, but
No.
if you were to decide to sign up for any of that e-coaching, I promise you that his value that you get for your money far exceeds what he's advertising, and he's
Yes.
much more available than even what the terms of that e-coaching are. So
Yes.
take a look at it. If that's something that's right for you, by all means, support Jeff. It's Jeff
yeah.
that you're talking to. I mean, it's when you're getting the email back, it's Jeff writing them.
Yeah. And the Galloway programs, the training programs throughout the country, they're just great when we can start to have access to those all around the country again. His book's up there on the website and his timer. There's such a wealth of information on jeffgalloway.com.
Yep, check it out.
That was a fantastic interview, and he always is. And really, we have a fantastic book that we have been cooking from. And actually, I use that term very loosely.
Well, you've cooked from it.
I've cooked from it, but you, sir, have been really foundational in taking this book, the Healthspan Solution, and cooking from it. And the recipes in this book, they're phenomenal.
Yeah, we've mentioned it before in the first episode of 2020 when we were telling everybody our story of what we've been doing to pursue a more healthful lifestyle. We switched to a whole food plant-based diet 6 days a week, or we say 6 days a week. It's often longer than that, but a whole food plant-based diet with rare and appropriate times to go off plan. And for us, that's usually when we're recording the show or
Right.
we're going to do research for the show, which means that we're going out for the eating and drinking portion of the show.
Right.
And this was all prompted because I ended up going into the hospital with high blood pressure and wanted to get that under control. And as a result, both of us have lost over 70 pounds.
Yes.
So when I started down this path initially, I had no idea what I was doing. I going, whole hog into this was just totally new territory for me. But
Yeah.
I started looking for resources. I found Ray and Julieanna with their first book, and that's A Complete Idiot's Guide, or Idiot's Guide to Plant-Based Nutrition. And then this is a second book from them as a writing team, and the Healthspan Solution dropped just a couple of months ago.
December?
November, December, something like that. And I started exploring it on Apple Books, and that way I could bookmark pages and highlight passages and all of that. Yeah. And basically, it gives you kind of a breakdown of the science behind what they're talking about, but it's not preachy. Some of the things that get the negative connotations towards people who are vegetarian or vegan, the joke is, how do you know who's a vegan? Just wait a minute, they'll tell you. Oh, it's none of that. It really is just laying out delicious meals. And here's the dirty secret: most of these meals, if you wanted to add a protein to them, like
you could
chicken, fish, steak,
totally,
you absolutely could. And I think that their focus on healthful ingredients and great flavor is what's made the difference.
What's going to be filling and nutritionally dense.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. The idea is that you're getting everything you need by eating several meals a day from this book. Mm-hmm. And again, it's more of a cookbook, less of a diet plan.
Yeah, I would say it's full of recipes.
Yes.
More so than philosophy. They spend a very short amount of time in the book on the foundation.
Right.
And like you said, it's not political or preachy in any way. It's here, you want to add years to your life and life to your years, then here's how you can do it, and here's how you can enjoy what you eat.
Exactly. And I think that's, if you're making a lifestyle change like I did for health reasons, you have to, and you're a food lover, you've got to be able to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I could have done it through, something like Body for Life, where you're eating, like a fistful of carbs, a fistful of protein,
sure,
and all that. But you can only eat so much grilled chicken, and before you start growing feathers. So
there are different ways that people out there have accomplished health and fitness. This is just the way we found that has been the most successful for us long term.
Yes.
And has given us and this book in particular has given us the greatest variety in terms of flavors.
Oh, absolutely.
And in terms of ingredients, and trying things that I wouldn't have normally for the better part of my entire life. I'm not going to give my age.
It's on our website.
It's like, okay, 45 years. I said it, but he's older than I am. But I would never have known to put these things together.
No.
And I'm so excited that we will share the interview with them in the coming weeks. But I'm really disappointed that I never said during the interview to them how much I appreciate what they've done to help us, because giving us this kind of life, this 70-pound loss, and helping me feel a little bit more secure in our health outlook going forward as a married couple. That is something you just can't say enough for what they have provided.
I think you just did.
So, yeah.
So we're going to have a link.
I'm gushing, and you know how it is.
And we're going to have a link to the book and all of that. But this is just to give you kind of an idea of what you might expect when you pick up the book. And like I said, if you want to read about their plan, it's very interesting reading. They break the science down, make it enjoyable.
Yeah.
You end up kind of getting it as you read. You're like, oh, okay, I could try this. And then next thing you know, you're dropping weight like insanely fast. You're not feeling hungry. You don't feel, deprived, and there you are.
I can tell you, yeah, that's true. And in the show notes, I put a link to an actual version, like a traditional book version, and then also to a Kindle version.
Okay, so you can do it in the real world or electronically. Cool.
Yeah.
But again, this is just our experiences personally. Anecdote is not the singular of data, and we would just say, if you're going to do anything like a major lifestyle change, of course, consult your doctor. We are not doctors or medical professionals.
Exactly.
So
Disclaimer.
All of that disclaimer out of the way, let me talk about some of the food. And we're going to talk about a specific dish that has become a staple in our household.
I think that you made this once for us, and then I was like, oh, it has to be in the mix every week.
Yeah. I stumbled on this. I didn't even know one of these ingredients even existed.
Really?
Really.
Oh, you have to wait. Yeah.
And this is a dish that they call their lemon tahini broccoli slaw. Now, I'm really familiar with tahini because throughout college and well into my adulthood, I've been a big fan of hummus.
Yes.
So tahini is basically peanut butter, but it's made out of sesame seeds instead of peanuts.
You make us hummus every week.
I do.
So tahini is something we have in our pantry all the time.
Anyway.
Because it's such a satisfying kind of snack.
Yeah, the flavor, the consistency is very much like peanut butter. The flavor is like toasted sesame seeds on steroids.
Yeah.
It's just really buttery and delicious, and it's the basis for the dressing of this slaw that you're making, and the dish calls for a bag of broccoli slaw. That is something I had no idea even existed.
Well, there's a lot in the vegetable case or in the produce area of the grocery store that I don't know how long it's been there, but it's new to us. Like the cauliflower rice.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about broccoli slaw. Like when you said at first, hey, I looked this up in the book and I'm going to make it, I was thinking that you were getting broccoli florets and you were going to
have to grate them.
Like do something to chop or grate so the pre-packaged broccoli slaw, when you think of coleslaw typically that's bagged in the produce section, it's going to be nice and thin, very much like coleslaw. Yeah.
It's green coleslaw. Mm-hmm. Is the
that
best
kind of consistency.
Best way to describe it.
It's a little bit firmer, maybe. Yeah.
And then the other item that is in this mix, or as far as the vegetable goes, is chickpeas.
Yeah, I love that. And that is also a key ingredient in hummus.
Well, it's the main ingredient, but
yes.
I grew up eating garbanzo bean soup. So
I
garbanzo
didn't.
beans is, that's the other name for chickpeas. But yeah, that was always a staple at my house growing up.
We never had it. Never.
And, being able to just take, a bag of dried beans, throw them in the Instant Pot for an hour, and then bam, they're ready to go. And then start combining this and make the dish. And you can end up making a really big batch like we do. And and having lunch to grab and go for a week.
For the week. Now, but if somebody doesn't have an Instant Pot, then what can they do?
Well, you can use canned or pre-cooked canned beans. You can also just soak the dried beans and then cook them according to the package.
Sure.
But if you do have an Instant Pot, the beauty of that thing is you can go from dried beans to cooked beans in 60 minutes.
It's so easy watching you do it.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And again, they're not a sponsor either. We love our Instant Pot.
Oh my gosh.
So much so we have one on the counter and a spare one in the closet for when that one dies.
And if it ever does.
If it ever does.
Yeah. So, yeah, chickpeas. You know what I like in this whole mix? The sun-dried tomatoes, the chopped sun-dried tomatoes that are not packed in oil, because as part of our whole plan, we don't do oil or salt.
Right. No added salt, sugar, or fat.
Yeah, just what's in the ingredients themselves.
Yeah, and you can play around a little bit if this is garnished, that they say garnish the final product with the sun-dried tomatoes. The sun-dried tomatoes, there's a variety of them that you can find out there, including, which one that I really like is the smoked variety.
Yeah, that has been great in this recipe.
So you can find them. They're prepackaged in a little Ziploc style bag that has that they're dry. They're julienne cut.
So you don't even have to worry about prepping them.
You don't have to do anything except drop them in.
Yeah.
So what you end up doing with this. I'm assuming you're wanting me to talk through since I normally am the one
Well,
that
yeah.
cooks
So
this.
like we have the tahini we talked about.
The tahini is the base for the
Yeah.
dressing. So when
The
you're
dressing.
when you're making this, you make that dressing.
Yes.
So you're adding tahini, you're adding fresh squeezed lemon juice, you're adding a couple of cloves of garlic, and then they recommend low sodium tamari, which is like low sodium soy sauce. We use liquid aminos, tomato, kind of whatever you like.
What you can find.
And what you might have
what
in
you
your
have
area.
accessible, yeah.
Most major grocery stores, like in like the health food aisle, will have liquid aminos, and in their international foods aisle, will have soy sauce or tamari.
Yeah.
So you're
So
probably going to be pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Then a little bit of ground black pepper that goes in your blender. You're making the dressing right there.
And we don't have a traditional blender. We did it in our what do you call it?
Well, we have a magic bullet,
Yeah.
which we use like a food processor.
Yeah. So, which made it super easy because you just throw it in the cup and then throw it.
Yep, you zhuzh it,
Bam.
and your dressing's ready to go. And then in a really big mixing bowl, you open those bags of pre-made broccoli slaw. You top that with your chickpeas, and then you put the dressing in and you toss. Toss. We pre-package everything in these
Put
little
the sun-dried tomato in there. You mix it all together.
Well, I'll do it both ways sometimes. Just depends if I feel like mixing anymore, or if what I'll often do is I'll pre-package everything in the plastic containers and then top them with the sun-dried tomatoes.
Okay.
So you can do it either way.
Yeah. I kind of like it, honestly. I'm giving like commentary as we're talking about.
That's okay.
I just think when you mix, especially the smoky ones, that gives it, because you prepackage it, and then it's always the flavors have had a chance to really marry.
Yeah, a day or two later.
They're great.
Yeah,
they're great.
And then, so what's this like?
Smoky.
Well, the dressing that you're making out of the tahini, the lemon, the tamari or the soy sauce, the black pepper, has this wonderful, rich, tart, and slightly salty flavor.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost like a spicy, or almost like a Caesar salad dressing is the best way I could describe it. It's very tart, unctuous. It's just rich.
It's not like an anchovy flavor, and it's not like a peanut butter flavor. I know when you talked about the tahini, you said it was like a
peanut butter consistency.
Yeah. Like a, but it's not overly sweet.
There's no sweetness at all to this.
I get tart, and I get that acid from the lemon juice
and a nuttiness from the sesame seed. In the tahini.
Yeah. And I just like, there's the broccoli and the chickpeas, and I think the chickpeas are what adds the hardiness to the whole slaw.
Oh
dish.
Yeah. The broccoli slaw is a great cheat if you're making like lunch for the week, because unlike coleslaw, where if you had shredded cabbage and you add anything acidic to it and it starts to draw the moisture out, it gets really limp and kind of gross by about day 4.
This I can have all week take it for lunch.
There is none of that with this. It doesn't get limp and soggy.
Yeah, and the broccoli slaw is a substantial.
Yes.
Substantial. So I think that all of these ingredients work together to create the perfect grab and go kind of lunch.
And then, like you said, the chickpeas, and you can play with the proportions a little bit.
Yeah.
I add probably a little bit more on the side of the chickpeas than less. I like the chickpea flavor.
I love it.
And this is a 1 container meal that you can use it certainly as a side, but you can turn it into the main dish, and it fills you up and it tastes fantastic.
It does. I love the smokiness of the sun-dried tomato, and I just think that the chickpeas are really substantial. So I'll take it in as my main dish for lunch.
Yeah.
Totally. So that is a shining star in the salads section.
Yeah, they do a lot of options for salads, and this is just one that we are constantly going to and would highly recommend. If you check this book out, make this recipe. You're not going to regret it.
Yeah.
The fact that you're able to do this as a side or to make this into your meal makes it very versatile. And just incredibly enjoyable. And that lemon tahini sauce, I'd actually would take that and make it into like a sandwich spread by itself. And if you add more garlic to it, you can give it a bit of a bite, especially if you're using raw garlic.
Oh.
So you can make it a little bit spicy by doing that. But fair warning, if you've got to work close to people, they may not appreciate that.
Yeah, and I like the way that the recipes in the book are broken up, not into breakfast, lunch, and dinner and desserts.
Right.
It's soups, salads, sides, sweets, and then sauces and seasonings.
Yeah, their concept is that everything that you're eating is healthful.
Yeah. And
so it doesn't matter what time of day you have it.
Because I've had that broccoli slaw for breakfast.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you wake up craving something savory, and this definitely scratches that itch. This is not like a traditional Southern coleslaw that's very sweet.
No. And it's, typically you would have a whole bunch of mayo.
Right.
In that kind of slaw.
And they don't have a traditional mayo-based anything here, but they do have recipes for a mayo replacement that is actually very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, if you're looking to go plant-based, if you're looking to change things up, you absolutely could. And, here's the other secret to this slaw. If you wanted to put a diced chicken breast on top of it,
you could.
It would be great. Or a sliced chicken breast. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, a chicken breast, any way you dice or slice, whatever.
Yeah, so if you... I'm telling you, this is a fantastic dish.
It's good. I want to talk about others as we go on throughout the next couple of weeks, because there are some soups that are dynamite.
Yeah, they do really offer us some options. Like there's a mushroom and wild rice bisque that is my go-to. A Fiesta corn stew.
I love that one.
That's
oh my gosh.
fantastic. And if you want to, what I really like is that they bring in the opportunity to do a lot of flavors from Asia. So they have like a great udon, sweet and sour udon noodle that is fantastic. Some Indian flavors with like a smoky lentil stew.
And this is one salad, but there's also an actual like a Caesar, a play on a Caesar, and the Mexican rice burrito bowl. There are so many that we could talk about. So check out the book if you haven't, and if you're interested in that, just kind of changing up what you eat. Or just an introduction, a nice introduction to a plant-based lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love it.
That is the Healthspan Solution from Ray Cronise and Julieanna Hever. Available everywhere fine books are sold.
Yay.
We will have links to that. We'll be talking about that more in the coming weeks once we get their interview edited and ready to rock.
I know. We've been teasing it long enough.
It's about time. Well, I'm excited for it. I want to do them justice. And honestly, what we're probably going to do is break it into a couple of episodes because they spent a ton of time with us really breaking down and really geeking out on some of the stuff behind the Healthspan Solution and the science to their sorcery.
Yeah. So I know you want to do it right.
I do.
We're going to do it right. So stay tuned for that.
And speaking of doing it right, you know who else is doing it right?
Big Storm Coffee.
Big Storm Coffee.
Yeah.
They, of course, are the
Company.
sister or the other half of Big Storm Brewing. And, several months back, we had the opportunity to sit down and do a cupping
Yes.
and tasting right here in our Big Storm location here in Cape Coral.
Oh, yes. Chris Ramsey's their head roaster. He is in charge of the Big Storm Coffee Company, their mix. And in the show notes, we link back to our video interview with him. And if you go to runeatdrink.net and you click on shows at the top of the page, you can find, if you just search Big Storm Coffee, you can find our series of episodes about their coffee. But on social media lately, I've been getting comments on our daily coffee posts.
Oh.
And they have said, you post about coffee every morning, every day.
It is a daily thing with you.
And you don't
drink coffee while you look for coffee memes.
I do. And we have coffee chats, although I need to have more of those than I've had in the last couple of weeks. But
if only you had time.
I gotta have time. I'm gonna make time. So a lot of people have been commenting on those posts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you talk about it all the time, but what are some of your favorite coffees? What do you like to drink? What are your favorite varieties?
Oh.
So here we go. So Big Storm released like a bag of beans.
Whole bean coffee.
Called El Rayo, Rayo, espresso blend.
And their description says that it's an award-winning blend made with beans sourced from Central America and Africa. Expect notes of dry chocolate, berry, and tobacco for a pleasant and smooth coffee drinking experience.
Yes, and they go on to say it's a bronze medal winner in the 2019 Golden Bean North American Coffee Roasters Competition and Conference. This blend you have to grab in their tap rooms, and they released it last October.
And we grabbed a bag.
And we did.
And it is glorious. Let's talk about this. I have always been a fan. Well, I'm typically a fan of medium roast coffees.
Yeah. And when I like blonde roasts, typically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
However, there's no medium roast espresso.
That is true.
So espresso, by its definition, is a type of roast on the coffee bean. It is a darker roast, and what a lot of people don't know is the longer you roast coffee, and you're looking and laughing at me because I'm geeking out about this, and she's doing that because I used to work for a major coffee retailer.
This is why I'm having you talk about it.
Went through extensive coffee training, but
yeah,
the longer
I know your experience.
Yeah, the longer you roast beans, actually, the less caffeine is in them.
Oh.
So, also, it tends to make the bean mellow out, and it reduces the amount of acid or the acidic flavor in a coffee. That's why you don't see beans like a Kenya AA typically roasted to an espresso roast, because Kenyan coffees tend to be sought out for their higher acidic profile, because that's something people like, the tartness that it brings to it, and espresso roasting will kill that. So you oftentimes will find coffees or beans like they're talking about Central America and Africa, Central America and Mexico, that are going to be a lot of times light to medium bodied coffees, medium acidity, and then they roast the heck out of it, and that gets it that nice dark oily appearance on that bean. And when you cracked that bag open, you saw how pretty that looked.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me I'm wrong.
You're not.
They're just gorgeous.
Yeah. So when they say chocolate, berry, and tobacco,
mm-hmm.
I definitely get the chocolate and the berry. I don't know if I get tobacco like so much when I taste this.
Well, there are people with golden palates who can pick up.
I don't have a golden palate.
Me either.
No.
Me either.
But those are the flavors that I get. And I mean, I just like it, I think. And normally, like I said, I'll be a blonde roast, something like that. But this is a great way to have espresso.
Yes. And what we'll often do is we'll prep it and we'll brew it through a French press. And I like doing that because we don't have an espresso machine per se. We do have a Nespresso machine when we want a quick coffee to make on our way out the door. But when we're having like a weekend day together and we're going to sit down and enjoy coffee, we'll make it in a French press.
We did it for a coffee chat not too long ago.
We did.
Yeah.
And I like French presses because you don't have the paper filter that lets all of the oil from the bean come through to the final brew of the coffee.
See, you are a fountain of information, my friend.
Yeah, the paper filters absorb a lot of the oil from the beans, and it doesn't give you the best extraction or the best brew. And I like espressos for that reason because not to just serve them as espresso, and that means brewing them under pressure like in an espresso maker, but I like making them as brewed coffee because it gives you a really smooth
It is smooth.
cup of coffee.
It's smooth. But this is where we can talk about the gear.
Yes.
Because we do have a French press.
Yeah, we have a regular 4-cup press from Bodum you can pick that up at just about any Bed Bath & Beyond or homewares retailer. But what we got not too long ago was some travel presses from a company called Espro, ESPRO.
ESPRO, Espro Ultralight Coffee Press.
And this thing is cool. This is basically a travel mug with a French press built in and a watertight lid with a handle. So super simple. You grind your beans. You put your ground beans in the bottom. Add your hot water. And then the actual plunge basket and plunger assembly, you just put it right in the top of the mug and you let it sit and steep for however long, usually about 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Once you plunge it, that takes all the grounds out of that mix, and then you can drink right from the double wall insulated mug, or you can pour it into your vessel of choice.
Yeah.
It is the coolest.
I love it.
Little French press I've ever seen.
I love it. And we got it for when we were at Podfest.
Yes.
For a podcasting conference.
Yes. Sometimes you just don't know what hotel coffee is going to be like.
What the options in the room are.
Typically not good.
And if you're going to get up early and you're going to get a run in, or you're going to be in the gym before anybody can beat you to the one treadmill there is, or you have to be at conference sessions, so you got to get up early and you need the coffee beforehand, just period.
Exactly. And the fact of the matter is, if you've got some good whole bean coffee that you grind, take that with you. You can grab one of these travel presses, and then you can make fresh, good coffee in your hotel room or wherever just by having access to water and a microwave.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that we got the beans, the whole beans in the El Rayo espresso blend, but they do have ground bagged coffee at Big Storm.
Okay. I personally like to get the whole bean and grind it myself.
And why is that?
Because you want you don't want to release any of the aromatics inside the bean any sooner than necessary. That's why you get the freshest, best tasting cup from beans that have been ground fresh. That said, sometimes convenience has to win out.
Depending on if you're traveling,
exactly.
etc. But, can you tell I'm just dreaming of traveling to races again?
I know, right?
Sorry. More conferences or, anything like that. But that's a good point. I'm just learning all sorts of coffee knowledge from you today. Well, yes. I actually arranged for a coffee expert to be my co-host on the Run Eat Drink podcast.
Well, that was probably one of the best jobs I ever had, and I would go back and do it again. But it is just, there's a lot to learn for something so simple and such a simple pleasure, but you can taste the difference by doing certain things, grinding your own beans, knowing how long to actually, how hot your water should be, how long you should steep your coffee, metal filter versus paper filter, all that stuff. So little things you can do to improve your coffee experience. And like I said, tomorrow, when this drops in our feed, we'll be off. When I get up in the morning, I'm going to have coffee in this Espro press.
And really, it was, we'll put a link to it in the show notes, and it's really not that expensive.
No,
either.
Depending on the finish that you get, they range anywhere from about $29 to $41, depending.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on the aesthetic that you like.
Yeah.
But they all work exactly the same.
Yeah. So because there's just like colors. But I got a black one.
Yeah.
And that was like $35.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I have gotten good use. It's a quality type of product. So, and they're not sponsoring the show.
No, this is purely just a sharing gear that we like. The only consideration we get is if you click on our link, that's an affiliate link, and it helps support the show.
Yeah. So it's a link to the product on Amazon. So it has lasted us almost a year and a half now, a year. At least a year. We've had it a year.
And here's the best feature, which we kind of buried the lead on it. Things machine washable.
Oh, like you could put it in the dishwasher.
You can put it in the dishwasher.
So the little baskets.
You rinse out the beans from the basket and you throw the whole thing in the dishwasher and you're done. And it's super simple, and it does a good job of keeping your coffee hot.
It does throughout.
You've got a long commute.
I have, depending on the day, it's maybe 60 to 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. And it's not the distance. It's usually the traffic on the road. Yeah. So it does a great job of keeping it warm for me. I should actually show it off in a beer chat or in a coffee chat soon.
Sounds like a plan.
And I think we did once.
We did on an Instagram Live.
Yeah. Yeah. So we should do that again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow, since we're off together.
So anyway, check that out if you're looking for a great way to transport the freshest cup of coffee you're ever going to make for yourself. Highly recommend it. It's going to be a piece of gear that lasts, and we think you're going to enjoy it. So it's something that we personally use ourselves. So anyway.
So we had a great interview, and I just want to say thank you again to Jeff Galloway, America's coach, our coach, for taking time to talk with us.
And we also got to give you guys a peek into our own kitchen to see some of the things that we're eating and we're cooking out of the book, The Healthspan Solution by Ray Cronise and Julieanna Hever, two authors who have helped give us some of our health back and added life to our years.
Yes. And you now have some insider information to why I love coffee, or what coffee I love in Big Storm's El Rayo.
And how best to enjoy whatever coffee you like by prepping it and transporting it in your own personal ultralight French press made by Espro.
Yeah.
We really thank you guys for joining us this week. We would like for you to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. It helps grow the Runcation Nation, and we really appreciate your support.
We've gotten a couple of new ones lately.
Excellent.
And we can't tell you how much we appreciate that. And that the comments that you've left for us about how you're enjoying the show. Maybe we should share some of those in an upcoming episode. So
Absolutely.
if you get on over there and you rate and review, you may hear your review.
And if you want to share a race or a place to eat or drink in your hometown when travel gets back to normal, leave us a 1-minute message with your name, where you're from, and what you're interested in sharing at info@runeatdrink.net, or you can call us at 941-677-2733. Leave a 1-minute comment, just your name, where you're calling from, and what you want to share with us. We would love to share that with everybody out there in the Runcation Nation.
That's 941-677-2733 if you're going to leave it as a voicemail. Or if you're going to attach an audio file, you can email it to info@runeatdrink.net. Like Jeff said, we're looking forward and planning for the future and thinking of those fall races when we can get back to it and everybody is safe and healthy and happy.
Exactly.
So we look forward to that, and let us know where we should go.
So for now,
really, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully this was an hour out of your day. You could take us on the run. You could listen to us while you're doing things around the house. We really appreciate you tuning in. We see you as part of our family, and we hope that you're enjoying the show. And we can't wait to bring you next week's edition. So for now, I'm Amy.
and I'm Dana.
And we will talk to you really soon. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having a great third year because of your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Run, Eat, Drink podcast. And on Twitter, we're at Run, Eat, Drink pod. You can also give us a call at 941-677-2733 or shoot us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.